Alex Carter wiped the sweat from his brow as he adjusted the settings on his scanner. The sun of Erindor hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the rocky terrain. Beside him, Mia Dawson knelt down to examine a strange crack in the ground. Her gloved fingers brushed against the jagged edge, revealing traces of metallic residue. "What do you think this is?" Maya asked, her voice tinged with curiosity. Alex shrugged, his eyes scanning the readings on his device. "Not sure yet, but it's not natural. Look at these energy spikes. They're off the charts." The two had been sent out by their colony's leadership to investigate unusual seismic activity near the outskirts of their settlement. At first, it seemed like just another routine task. The colony relied heavily on resource mapping to survive, and Alex's expertise as an engineer often made him the go-to person for such missions. But something about today felt different. Mia stood up and glanced around. The landscape was barren, dotted with patches of alien vegetation that shimmered faintly in the fading light. She pointed toward a cluster of rocks in the distance. "Let's check over there. Maybe we'll find more clues." As they approached the area, Alex noticed something odd. A section of the ground appeared slightly sunken, as if it were hiding something beneath it. He tapped the surface with his boot, and a hollow sound echoed back. His heart skipped a beat. "Mia, come here. I think we found something." Together, they began clearing away the loose dirt and debris. Beneath the surface lay a metal hatch, partially covered by years of sediment. Its design was unlike anything they'd seen before, smooth, seamless, and etched with symbols that glowed faintly when touched. "This isn't one of ours," Maya said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Do you think it's alien?" Alex hesitated, running his hand over the cool surface. "Could be, or maybe it's human-made. Something old, forgotten." With some effort, they managed to pry the hatch open, revealing a dark staircase leading downward. The air smelled stale, like it hadn't been disturbed in decades. Grabbing their flashlights, they descended cautiously into the unknown. The corridor below was narrow and lined with walls made of reinforced steel. Strange machinery hummed softly in the background, though most of it looked abandoned. As they ventured deeper, they stumbled upon a large room filled with consoles, monitors, and equipment covered in dust. In the center of the room stood a massive machine, its purpose unclear but undeniably advanced. Mia walked over to one of the consoles and wiped away the grime. To her surprise, the screen flickered to life, displaying lines of text and diagrams. She skimmed through the information quickly, her eyes widening with each passing second. "Alex," she called out, her tone urgent. "You need to see this." He hurried over, peering at the screen. What he saw left him speechless. The documents detailed plans for terraforming technology, machines capable of transforming barren planets into lush, habitable worlds within months. It was groundbreaking, revolutionary, and according to the timestamps, it had been developed decades ago. But why would they hide this? Alex muttered, shaking his head in disbelief. If we had access to this kind of tech, none of us would be struggling like we are now. Mia frowned, her mind racing. Unless the Council didn't want us to know. What if they've been lying to us all along, keeping us dependent on them? Alex stared at her, the weight of her words sinking in. For years, the Interstellar Human Council had claimed resources were scarce, forcing colonies to ration food, water, and supplies. They painted themselves as saviors, working tirelessly to ensure humanity's survival. But what if the truth was far darker? "We need to tell someone," Alex said finally. "This changes everything." Mia nodded, though unease lingered in her expression. "Yeah, but who can we trust?" As they gathered what data they could carry, neither of them noticed the small surveillance drone tucked away in a corner of the room, its lens blinking silently in the dim light. Somewhere far away, someone else already knew about their discovery, and they wouldn't let such secrets slip so easily. Alex and Mia returned to the settlement under the cover of darkness, their minds racing with questions. They carried a small data drive filled with the information they had uncovered in the hidden facility. The weight of what they now knew pressed heavily on them, but they weren't sure who to trust. If the Council had gone to such lengths to bury this technology, exposing it could put their lives, and the lives of those around them, in danger. The next morning, they decided to share their discovery with a few people they considered close friends. Ryan Scott, a farmer whose crops often struggled due to poor soil quality, was one of them. Elena Torres, a medic who had seen too many patients suffer from preventable illnesses, was another. Together, they gathered in a secluded corner of the settlement's communal hall, where Alex projected some of the files onto a makeshift screen. "This is what we found," Alex began, his voice low but steady. "It's terraforming tech, machines that can turn barren planets into livable ones. And it's been here for decades." Ryan leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "Wait a minute. You're saying the Council has known about this the whole time? Why would they keep it from us?" "Because it keeps us dependent," Mia interjected. "If colonies like ours could thrive on our own, the Council wouldn't have as much control over us." Elena crossed her arms, her expression grim. "This explains so much. All the rationing, the shortages. They've been lying to us this whole time." The group sat in silence for a moment, absorbing the enormity of the revelation. Then Ryan spoke up again, his voice tinged with frustration. "But what do we do about it? We can't just march up to the Council and demand answers." "We need proof," Alex said firmly. "Something concrete that shows the Council's deception. If we can get more evidence, we might be able to expose them." Mia nodded in agreement. "There's got to be more in the mainframe back at the colony's central hub. If we dig deep enough, we might find encrypted messages or logs." Over the next few days, Alex worked tirelessly to hack into the colony's mainframe. It wasn't easy. The Council had installed layers of security to protect their secrets, but Alex's skills eventually paid off. Late one night, he managed to decrypt a series of messages between Council officials. The content was damning. Explicit orders to suppress advanced technologies, detailed plans to manipulate supply chains, and even mentions of colonies that had tried to rebel and disappeared shortly afterward. When Alex shared these findings with the group, their anger turned into determination. "We can't let them get away with this," Elena said fiercely. "People deserve to know the truth." But not everyone was convinced. Ryan hesitated, glancing nervously at the others. "What if they find out we're poking around? The Council doesn't mess around. They'll crush us before we even get started." "They already know something's up," Mia countered. "That facility we found wasn't exactly well hidden. If we don't act now, they'll come after us anyway." As the debate continued, Alex noticed Ryan growing increasingly uneasy. At first, he thought it was just fear, but then Ryan confessed something that shocked them all. I told someone," he admitted, his voice trembling. "A Council enforcer came to me a few days ago. He knew I'd been talking to you too. He threatened my family if I didn't cooperate." For a moment, no one said anything. The room felt heavy with betrayal. But Alex broke the silence, his tone softer than expected. "It's not your fault, Ryan. They prey on fear. That's how they stay in power. But we can't let this divide us." Mia stepped forward, placing a reassuring hand on Ryan's shoulder. "He's right. If we fall apart now, the Council wins. We need to stick together and figure out our next move." Despite the tension, the group agreed to push forward. They couldn't undo what had been done, but they could still fight back. As they dispersed for the night, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. Somewhere far away, the Council was watching and waiting. The group knew they couldn't stay idle. Every moment they delayed, the Council could be planning their next move. Alex and Mia decided to investigate further, hoping to find more evidence that would strengthen their case. They remembered hearing rumors about another colony called New Haven, a settlement that had once tried to expose similar secrets but vanished without explanation. Determined to uncover the truth, they packed supplies and set out on a risky journey. New Haven was located several days' travel away, across rugged terrain, and through areas known for dangerous wildlife. Ryan insisted on joining them, eager to make up for his earlier mistake. Alina stayed behind to keep an eye on things at the settlement and to spread awareness among trusted friends. The trio traveled cautiously, avoiding open roads where council patrols might spot them. When they finally reached New Haven, the sight was chilling. What had once been a thriving colony was now a ghost town. Buildings were in ruins, and the air carried an eerie stillness. As they explored the wreckage, Alex noticed scorch marks on walls and signs of deliberate destruction. This wasn't the work of natural disasters or alien attacks. Someone had wiped out the entire population. Mia knelt beside a pile of debris and picked up a charred piece of paper. It was part of a document, its edges burned but some words still legible. Suppress dissent. Ensure compliance. She clenched her fists, anger simmering inside her. They didn't just destroy this place. They silenced everyone who dared to speak out. Ryan looked pale as he scanned the area. If we push too hard, they'll do the same to us. Alex shook his head firmly. That's exactly why we can't back down. If we let fear stop us, they win. We owe it to these people to finish what they started. Back at their own settlement, Alina worked to rally support. She quietly shared the story of New Haven with a few trusted colonists, showing them fragments of the data Alex and Mia had uncovered. Word spread cautiously, like a whisper in the wind. More people began questioning the council's motives, though many were still too afraid to act openly. Meanwhile, Alex, Mia, and Ryan returned home with heavy hearts but renewed resolve. They brought back pieces of evidence from New Haven, fragments of documents, damaged equipment, and photographs of the destruction. When they reunited with Alina, they laid everything out on a table in her small medical clinic. "This is bigger than we thought," Maya said, her voice trembling with emotion. "They'd done this before, and they'll do it again if we don't stop them." Alina nodded, her expression grim. "We need to get this information out there, to all the colonies. But how? The Council controls the communication networks." Alex tapped his fingers against the table, deep in thought. Then his eyes lit up. "There's one way. They monitor official channels, but not everything. There are old relay satellites left over from Earth's collapse. If we can reactivate one, we can broadcast our message directly to every colony." It was a risky plan, but it was their best shot. Over the next few days, the group worked tirelessly to prepare. Alex modified a transmitter using parts scavenged from broken equipment, while Mia and Alina helped draft a clear, concise message explaining the Council's deceit. Ryan volunteered to guard their location, keeping watch for any signs of trouble. On the night of the broadcast, tension hung thick in the air. Alex activated the satellite link, his hand steady despite the stakes. As the signal went live, Maya spoke into the microphone, her voice strong and unwavering. "To all colonies under the Council's rule, we have proof of their lies. They've kept us weak and divided to maintain control. But together, we can rise above this. Stand with us, and let's take back our future." For a moment, there was silence. Then, slowly, responses began flooding in from other colonies. Messages of anger, disbelief, and hope poured through the channel. For the first time, humanity's scattered settlements felt united, not by fear, but by a shared desire for freedom. But as the group celebrated their small victory, they knew the Council wouldn't stay quiet for long. Somewhere far away, alarms were sounding and plans were being made. The fight was far from over. The broadcast sent shockwaves through the colonies. Within hours, protests erupted across settlements, with people demanding answers from the Council. The message from Alex, Mia, and their group had struck a nerve, igniting a firestorm of anger and defiance. For years, colonists had suffered under strict rationing and harsh living conditions, believing it was necessary for survival. Now, they realized it had all been a lie. At first, the council tried to dismiss the claims as baseless rumors spread by troublemakers. But the evidence was undeniable. Documents, photos, and testimonies painted a clear picture of deception. Colonies began cutting off shipments meant for Earth's remnants, refusing to send resources until the council addressed their grievances. The rebellion was spreading faster than anyone expected. Back at their settlement, Alex and Mia watched the growing unrest with mixed emotions. On one hand, they were proud to see so many standing up against the council. On the other, they knew the council wouldn't let this challenge go unanswered. Sure enough, news arrived that the council had dispatched its flagship, the Eclipse to Erindor. Its mission was simple: crush the rebellion before it could gain more momentum. Admiral Gregory Lane, the commander of the Eclipse, issued a chilling ultimatum over the colony's communication network. Cease your resistance immediately, or face the consequences, his cold voice echoed. You are outnumbered and outmatched. Fear rippled through the settlement. Many colonists urged Alex and Mia to surrender, fearing retaliation. But Alex stood firm. If we give in now, nothing will change. We've come too far to back down. Mia nodded in agreement. We have something they don't expect: creativity. If we use what we've learned, we can fight back. Alex turned his attention to the stolen terraforming technology. He had been studying it closely since their discovery, realizing it wasn't just for reshaping planets. It could also be used defensively. With some modifications, he believed they could create an energy barrier around the settlement to shield them from attacks. The group worked day and night to prepare. Alex and Mia led the effort to adapt the machines, while Ryan helped organize volunteers to fortify the perimeter. Elena tended to those who were injured or sick, ensuring everyone remained strong and ready. Morale was high despite the looming threat. People felt united for the first time in years. When the Eclipse arrived, its massive shadow loomed over the settlement like a storm cloud. Laser turrets on its hull glowed ominously as it prepared to strike. But just as the first shots were fired, Alex activated the energy barrier. A shimmering dome enveloped the settlement, deflecting the blasts harmlessly into the sky. Cheers erupted among the colonists. The council's forces hesitated, clearly unprepared for such a defense. Admiral Lane barked orders over the comms, but his frustration was evident. This isn't over, he snarled. You think a little trick will stop us? Alex grabbed a communicator and responded boldly. You underestimated us. Lane, you thought fear would keep us quiet, but you only made us stronger. Try again if you dare. We're not backing down. The standoff continued for hours, with the Eclipse launching repeated assaults that failed to penetrate the barrier. Meanwhile, word of the settlement's resistance inspired others. Nearby colonies sent supplies and messages of support, emboldening the rebels even further. As night fell, Elena approached Alex and Mia, her face lined with worry. They'll find another way to hit us. We need to think ahead. Mia placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We will, and when they do, we'll be ready. Despite the exhaustion and uncertainty, there was a spark of hope in their hearts. They had proven that humanity's rage could become a force for change. But deep down, they knew the council wouldn't give up easily. The real battle was yet to come. The standoff between the settlement and the Eclipse stretched into days. The council's flagship hovered menacingly above, its weapons firing sporadically in an attempt to weaken the energy barrier. But Alex's modifications held firm, deflecting every attack. Inside the settlement, people worked tirelessly to maintain the shield and prepare for whatever came next. Supplies were running low, and exhaustion was setting in, but their resolve remained unshaken. Admiral Lane grew increasingly frustrated. He hadn't anticipated such defiance from a small colony on the edge of nowhere. They're just farmers and engineers, He muttered to his crew, "How are they holding out like this?" Unbeknownst to him, cracks were beginning to form within the council itself. Counselor Patricia Monroe, who had always followed orders without question, found herself haunted by guilt. She had spent years believing the council's actions were necessary for humanity's survival. Now, faced with undeniable proof of their cruelty, she couldn't ignore the truth any longer. Late one night, she made a decision that would change everything. Patricia secretly contacted Mia through an encrypted channel. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "I know what you've uncovered, and I want to help. The Council has contingency plans, backups in case colonies rebel. If you don't act soon, they'll deploy them." Mia listened intently, her heart pounding. "What kind of plans?" "There's a fleet en route to Erinder," Patricia explained. "They'll arrive in 3 days, and they're bringing something worse than the Eclipse *. Experimental weapons designed to disable entire settlements." Mia thanked Patricia and quickly relayed the information to the group. Alex cursed under his breath. 3 days isn't much time. We need to hit them before they can bring in reinforcements. Ryan suggested sabotaging the Council's supply lines. If we cut off their resources, it might slow them down long enough for us to regroup. It was a risky plan, but they didn't have many options. Ryan volunteered to lead a small team to infiltrate a nearby supply depot controlled by the Council. With Alina's help, they gathered tools and devised a strategy. Under the cover of darkness, Ryan and his team slipped out of the settlement and headed toward the depot. Meanwhile, Alex and Mia focused on strengthening the energy barrier. They knew the Eclipse wouldn't sit idle while waiting for reinforcements. Sure enough, the ship launched a concentrated assault, targeting specific points along the dome. Sparks flew as the barrier flickered dangerously, straining under the pressure. "We can't hold it forever," Alex shouted over the noise. "We need to buy more time." Mia grabbed a communicator and broadcast a message to the other colonies. "This is Mia Dawson. If you can hear me, we need your help. Send whatever you can. Ships, supplies, anything. Together, we can push back against the Council." Her plea didn't go unanswered. Within hours, makeshift ships from neighboring colonies began appearing on the horizon. Though poorly armed compared to the Eclipse *, their sheer numbers forced the flagship to divert some of its attention. This gave Ryan's team the opening they needed. At the supply depot, Ryan and his companions planted explosives near key storage units. As they retreated, a massive explosion lit up the night sky, destroying vital resources meant for the incoming fleet. When news of the sabotage reached the Eclipse *, Admiral Lane erupted in anger. "Find them. Crush them." But the resistance wasn't done yet. Using the stolen terraforming tech, Alex created localized storms around the settlement, obscuring visibility and making it harder for the Council's forces to coordinate. The combination of sabotage, reinforcements, and creative tactics turned the tide in their favor. By the 3rd day, the Council's reinforcements arrived, but they were met with fierce resistance. Ships clashed in the skies above Erinder, explosions lighting up the darkness. Despite heavy losses, the colonists managed to hold their ground. In the chaos, Admiral Lane ordered a retreat, unwilling to risk further casualties. As the Eclipse * pulled away, Alex allowed himself a brief moment of relief. They had won this round, but he knew the fight was far from over. The Council still existed, regrouping somewhere in the shadows. And beyond human politics, whispers persisted of ancient alien civilizations watching silently from the stars. Alex looked at Mia, determination in his eyes. This is just the beginning. The victory over the Eclipse * was a turning point, but it came at a heavy cost. Many colonists had been injured or lost their lives during the battle, and the settlement bore the scars of destruction. Buildings were damaged, crops destroyed, and supplies dwindled to almost nothing. Yet, despite the hardships, there was an undeniable sense of hope in the air. For the first time in years, people felt they had a voice and the power to shape their own destiny. Patricia Monroe's defection proved to be a pivotal moment. She arrived at the settlement shortly after the battle, seeking refuge among those she once helped oppress. At first, many were wary of her presence, unsure if she could truly be trusted. But Patricia didn't shy away from their anger. She stood before a crowd of colonists, her voice steady despite the weight of guilt. "I know I can't undo what I've done," she admitted, "but I want to make amends. The council is fractured now. Some still cling to their old ways, while others are questioning everything. If we act quickly, we can dismantle their control for good." Her words struck a chord with Alex and Mia. They realized that defeating the council wouldn't just require brute force. It would take strategy and unity. With Patricia's insider knowledge, they began planning their next move. She revealed critical details about the council's vulnerabilities, secret outposts, hidden supply routes, and key figures whose loyalty was wavering. Meanwhile, word of the rebellion spread further across the colonies. Emboldened by Arindur's success, other settlements began organizing their own resistance movements. Ships carrying volunteers and resources arrived daily, strengthening the growing alliance. Alina worked tirelessly to care for the wounded and rally support, while Ryan took charge of coordinating supply distribution. Slowly but surely, the scattered fragments of humanity started coming together. But the council wasn't ready to surrender. Admiral Lane, humiliated by his retreat, launched a propaganda campaign aimed at discrediting the rebellion. He claimed the colonists were reckless anarchists who would plunge humanity into chaos. His messages reached some ears, sowing seeds of doubt even among those sympathetic to the cause. Alex knew they needed to counteract this narrative. Standing before a gathering of leaders from various colonies, he spoke with conviction. "They'll try to divide us, to make us fear each other, but we're stronger when we stand together. This isn't about revenge. It's about building a future where no one has to live in fear or scarcity." His words resonated deeply, solidifying the resolve of the newly formed alliance of free colonies. Under Alex and Mia's leadership, the alliance began drafting plans for a new system of governance, one based on transparency, cooperation, and mutual aid. It was messy work, filled with debates and compromises, but it gave people something to believe in. As weeks passed, the resistance prepared for another confrontation. Intelligence suggested the council was regrouping near a remote station known as Outpost Delta. Using information provided by Patricia, Alex devised a bold plan to strike at the heart of their operations. A coordinated assault involving multiple colonies would target the outpost simultaneously, overwhelming the council's defenses. The night before the attack, Mia joined Alex on the outskirts of the settlement. They sat in silence, staring up at the stars. "Do you think we can really pull this off?" she asked softly. Alex hesitated, then nodded. "We have to. If we don't stop them now, they'll keep finding ways to hurt us." Mia sighed, her gaze distant. "Even if we win, what happens after? Can we really trust ourselves not to repeat their mistakes?" Alex placed a reassuring hand on hers. "That's why we're doing this, to learn from their failures. We won't let fear rule us anymore." The next morning, the fleet set out toward Outpost Delta. As ships soared through space, bound by a shared purpose, the colonists braced themselves for the fight ahead. Humanity's rage had been tempered into determination, and though the road remained uncertain, one thing was clear: the age of the Council's tyranny was ending. What lay beyond was theirs to build or destroy. The assault on Outpost Delta was chaotic and intense. Ships from the Alliance of Free Colonies swarmed the station, overwhelming the Council's defenses with sheer numbers and determination. The battle raged for hours, with explosions lighting up the void of space and debris floating in every direction. Inside the outpost, small teams led by Alex and Mia fought their way through corridors filled with enforcers, determined to reach the command center. Patricia proved invaluable during the attack. Her knowledge of the outpost's layout allowed them to bypass traps and ambushes that would have slowed them down. "This way," she urged, leading the group down a narrow passageway. Despite her past allegiance with the Council, no one questioned her now. Her actions had earned their trust. When they finally reached the command center, they found Admiral Lane waiting for them, his expression grim but defiant. "You think this changes anything?" he sneered as Alex stepped forward. "Even if you destroy us, humanity will always need someone to keep order." Alex met his gaze without flinching. "Order doesn't mean oppression. We don't need rulers. We need leaders who listen." With Patricia's help, they disabled the outpost's systems, cutting off communication between the Council and its remaining forces. The victory was decisive, leaving the Council fractured and powerless. News of their defeat spread quickly, and within days, other colonies began declaring independence, severing ties with Earth's remnants once and for all. Back at Erendur, the atmosphere was electric with hope. People worked together to rebuild what had been lost, sharing resources and ideas freely. Under the leadership of Alex, Mia, and others, the Alliance of Free Colonies established a new governing body, one built on transparency and collaboration. Decisions were made collectively, with representatives from each colony ensuring everyone had a voice. But not everything was perfect. Old wounds took time to heal, and some colonists struggled to adjust to the sudden shift in power dynamics. There were disagreements about how best to move forward, and tensions occasionally flared. Yet despite these challenges, there was an undeniable sense of progress, a belief that they could overcome anything as long as they stood together. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Alex and Mia climbed a hill overlooking the settlement. The hum of activity echoed in the distance, people laughing, working, and dreaming of a better future. For the first time in years, it felt like peace might actually be possible. "We did it," Maya said quietly, breaking the silence. "But I can't shake the feeling that we're just getting started." Alex nodded, his eyes scanning the horizon. "Yeah, the Council's gone, but there's still so much work to do. And then there's whatever's out there." He gestured toward the stars, where faint glimmers hinted at civilizations far older and perhaps far more powerful than humanity. Mia followed his gaze, her expression thoughtful. "Do you think they're watching us?" "Probably," Alex replied with a shrug. "Maybe they've been watching all along. But if they are, I hope they see something worth respecting now. A species willing to fight for its freedom, even when the odds seem impossible." They sat in silence for a while, letting the weight of their journey settle over them. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but they had faced worse and survived. Humanity's rage had transformed into resilience, a spark of defiance that refused to fade. As lights flickered on across the settlement below, signaling another day coming to an end, Alex turned to Mia with a small smile. "Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." And for the first time in a long time, they both believed it.